it's interesting thinking about why this is such a big news story, because I saw it this afternoon, this Mike King news story. And often when in the afternoon, I have to decide what the story is going to be for that night if I'm busy. And I mean, I jotted it down, Mike King, as a throwaway, and then both 1 and 3 covered it as a major story. So colour me surprised. But because they have, I think we can have a look at it. The clip's only 2.5 minutes. We'll give you guys a chance to share your thoughts on that, and the people can get a bit of a taster for tomorrow night. And then we can wrap up, and we can me and Chewy can run away giggling, and you guys can take over tomorrow night. Does that sound right, Chewy?
Come frolicking in. Is that how it works?
Yeah, something like that. So let's have a look at this story, shall we? This is from TVNZ tonight, talking about the situation with... I've changed my position twice on this story. I'll explain to you why when we get through it. But the situation with I Am Hope and Gumboot Friday with Mike King.
There are fresh calls for the mental health charity Gumboot Friday to have its government funding reviewed after comments from the founder Mike King about alcohol use. The government is distancing itself from the comments, and Mike King insists he was talking about his own experience. Here's senior reporter Benedict Collins.
It's that time of year again.
Gumboot up!
Gumboot up, New Zealand!
Gumboot Friday, the big fundraiser for youth counselling. But these comments by Gumboot Friday founder Mike King are causing widespread concern.
Alcohol is not a problem for people with mental health issues. It's actually the solution to our problem.
Mike.
Now that's the quote. Yeah, we'll keep going with the thing, but I'll read it to you again. From News Talk ZB, alcohol is not a problem for people with mental health issues. It's actually the solution to our problem. Now, Chewy, my first reaction was exactly as you. But let me just repackage this for you slightly. And I feel like I'm being fairly generous to Mike, because if I was telling you a story of when I was in the worst part of my addiction, and I said, I'm adding some words, at that time, alcohol wasn't a problem for me, it was actually the solution to my problem. At that time, when I was going through that, it could be taken in a different way. Now, I'm not putting that out there to say, he's fine, don't worry about this. But I did wonder after listening to this twice, the second time, is this an example of him speaking out like an example, a theory when he was in his addiction, and being very clunky about it, and it's sounding really, really bad, because it does sound really, really bad. I'm going to keep playing. You guys mull over my little thoughts in, and then when I get to shut up, you can tear me a new one. Here we go.
Mike King went on to explain he used drink and drugs as a coping mechanism until he got proper mental health help. Nevertheless, some found his comments reckless.
I don't know any mental health experts who would argue that alcohol is a solution.
There is no way that alcohol is a solution to mental health issues. Alcohol is associated with poorer mental health outcomes and also with suicide risk.
Now, let me just speak against my own thought then as well, because in the quote, Mike King said, alcohol is not a problem for people with mental health issues. He didn't say for me and my mental health issues. So when you say people, it does sound like you're talking about everybody, which means this counsellor who's hearing right now is going, this is not the solution for people. So I'm looking at it from both sides. I'm not both sidesing it, but looking at it from both sides, and we'll get your guys taken about 60 seconds.
Gumboot Friday's been in the spotlight after the coalition government cherry-picked the organisation and handed it $24 million of taxpayer money to deliver counselling. Labor wants its funding paused. The Minister for Mental Health, Matt Ducey, refused to be interviewed today, but in a statement said he disagrees with Mike King and says alcohol is not a solution for mental health. The Mental Health Foundation's boss understands where Mike King was coming from in terms of self-medicating with alcohol.
When I was very unwell and wasn't getting proper treatment, I did that. So that does happen, but it's not the solution, and what people actually need is the services and the support and the appropriate medication.
Mike King took to social media this afternoon
after the media hysteria today
to make a clarification.
I am not advocating or saying that alcohol and drugs should be administered as a means to cure people of a mental health issue.
But his poor choice of words bringing more political heat for Gumboot Friday.
So there you go. The one problem with his explanation as well, he didn't actually say, I was only talking about me. So he didn't actually quell that. So I don't have anything else to say because mine are a couple of big questions. Let's go alphabetically then.
Pick me.
Chewy, alphabetically.
Look, Mike King's a comedian. He's a broken person, as a lot of comedians are. There is huge problems with alcoholism in the comedy community.
Sure.
To get up there and like one of the things that makes people funny is having a shitty upbringing, not being a popular person or anything like that, and just having really, really low self-esteem. So you get on stage to do it, and a big part of that is getting a few drinks on board to do it. Mike King's been has been incredibly upfront that he has a drugs and alcohol problem. It's one of the things that could make him a really excellent advocate for mental health, right? Because someone who's been there and done it, that's really effective. If he had said one of the things that helped me get through this was the numbing effects of alcohol, but to say it's a solution, and that's what he said, there's no winding that back, that's what he said, to mental health problems, is it's not the one. Like, and if you're being a spokesperson and you can't communicate that, you could sit there and go, people are having such trouble accessing proper, effective mental health help in this country that they are resorting to drugs and alcohol to get alcohol through it. That is a better statement. But my dude, if you're a spokesperson, you have to be more careful.
So
there will be people that hear that and go, I don't need to talk to someone. I don't need to get a proper diagnosis. I have the solution in my cupboard because celebrity self-help guru Mike King says a whiskey a day keeps the fucking noose away. That's crazy.
So, Chewy, what I hear you saying is, even if those meanderings of me that he misspoke were correct, as the spokesperson, he shouldn't be misspeaking. So even if it was a misspeak over not, it's not acceptable. That's what I hear you kind of saying. Yeah.
It's like he's dealing with people's lives in some cases. Like this country, it's terrible for this. People don't talk about their feelings. They'll drink them away. And then, look, we all get sad. And sometimes it gets too sad and people look for the door. And that's what we need to stop.
We're going alphabetically, so Ems, you're next.
It's me. As soon as you read it the second time, I was like, oh, now I actually understand what he was saying, is that people use it as a solution. But yeah, you got to be more careful about what you say, because that was so easily clippable and taken out of context. Yeah. And like if he had in that full thing, if he'd actually said, this is, it's people use it as a solution to their mental health problems because they can't access correct solutions, then no one would have gone, oh, here's a clip. Otherwise, we're going, Fox News style. Here's a clip of what he said. But then people can easily go, here's the whole clip. It's like he explained it. But obviously, the news figured out that it was clippable and there was no explanation to it. So, yeah, pretty harmful stuff. It's especially in New Zealand, we have such a problem with alcohol. And it's so baked into our social way of life. And it's normal to have a glass of wine or drink a whole bottle between a couple every night. It is concerning to normalize that still. Like, it's not acceptable when you go to a party it's not socially acceptable to go to a party and just not have a drink in your hand. Even if it's like you have to have something. And so most people hold like a Coke or something, because then it feels like you're a part of it. But then someone go, oh, you've got a drink. And they'll just hand you a beer, which is just feeding the whole problem. And then the other thing I saw, throwing things around in the chat, was sorry, really excited, is that alcohol is a depressant. And I didn't actually understand what that meant, because I was like, what do you mean? I'm having a great time. Drink. Until later on, I actually figured out that is the day after when I would just be miserable and so down. And I was like, why am I just like, yeah, I feel like crap because I'm hungover, but I just don't feel great. And it takes a few days to get back, especially with my particular mental health. It does take a bit to bounce. But while you're drinking, you're having a great time.
Yeah.
What do you mean it's a depressant? I'm having a great time. So
And in that
I'm
great
quite
time, it
sneaky.
makes you real impulsive.
Mhm.
So, if your mood changes, like your mood is elevated either way. If you're having a good time, you're having a fucking great time. Best time. All my friends are fucking amazing. Half an hour later, you've lost your friends. You're real sad. They left because you're a piece of shit and you're an irredeemable person. I'm going to jump off a bridge.
Psychology student knows how that mechanism works.
Yeah, tell us
how it happens. We know
Give us
how
the
it
science.
happens. So, when you are alcohol is the one substance that we cannot predict quite with certainty how they're going to react. Like cocaine, we know how people tend to react on that. MDMA, LSD, marijuana, we know a lot more about that. When it comes to alcohol, it's a lot more chaotic. But the main thing is that it makes whatever's the most salient heightened. And that's exactly what you're talking about, Chewy. Like if someone says something nasty to you and you've been having a great time on the dance floor, everybody's your best friend. But then that one guy looks at you, says the wrong thing, and all of a sudden that's all you can see. Everything just goes from 1 to 100, and then you get sad because they punched you, and now you're crying, and it's just this horrible cascading effect. And I mean, it's as a psychology student, that was. I mean, just now that I'm talking, I might as well tell you guys. I found it really funny, right? How I learned about that today. I was in my therapist's office waiting for my appointment. And he opened the door just as they had said that on the news. And I looked at him and I said, Mike King said, he said, I know. And to be honest, it was the first 15 minutes of my therapy appointment. So he kind of wasted my time. Thanks, Mike King. I needed that time. But it was just insane that, like, I mean, there's a comment from that was in the chat earlier that's talking about it can be used as a coping mechanism. And that is true. It can help at times as some forms of band-aids in certain situations, in certain conditions. And again, very precarious, drinking on your own all the time because you don't want to tell people that you're sad.
Oh, no.
That's not healthy. Having a drink with friends and having that association, it's like, again, you guys have mentioned it. The relationships we have in this country with alcohol are absolutely cooked. We have had the worst mental health for a long time. Our suicide rates are absolutely buggered. Like, and to even say that alcohol, like, again, I know he needed to be mindful, but I almost wonder why he felt the need to bring it up. Really? Like, at the end of the day, I went through my notes from uni, and the only thing I could find when I looked up the word alcohol was that it used to be considered potentially as a multi-causal reason to incite insanity or psychosis.
Oh.
Yeah.